I'm just saying. It's gonna get wild, guys. And I'm sorry.
Very well could.
Also, hi and welcome to Blank Bodies, a Vampire the Masquerade V5 horror and tabletop podcast. That's a fun...
I regret nothing I've said, and we needed to, as a community, talk about this. But, fuck, hi.
I really tried to get on the topic earlier, but
no, you
just
it's fine.
skated through it.
It wasn't even that bad. We only vamped for a few minutes after you were just tee up the intro.
And it didn't happen.
Nope.
Anyways.
I'm just saying, while it's a good thing we talked about it, it could have been avoided.
Yeah, that's fine.
Anyway, I'm your host, Hunter, and as always, I'm joined by...
John!
Sarah?
And the Lorebot.
James.
Yeah, so what are we talking about today?
We're talking about the next stage of character creation. We're going back to some basics as we try to chillax during this holiday season. We're talking about advantages. That part of character creation at the end that apparently everybody's really confused about and doesn't fucking understand. And honestly, I don't blame you.
It's
a bit weird.
Best part.
It's great. I fucking love them and the system and everything, but goddammit, in the core book, some of it's not written intuitively, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's
our usual gripe.
Yeah.
It's just an editor.
There's the rules are there, it's just,
I don't know. I think of my complaints from last episode, the Hunter episode, I would say that this is much more there and explained than my issues with Hunter. But
no.
My problem with Hunter is mostly that it assumed that you had read pretty much all of the V5 core and had that in mind running into the next game, whereas I feel like we didn't really have any issues starting with V5.
No, it's just having been the ST for a lot of people's baby's first Vampire the Masquerade, because V5 came out and people were just like, oh, what is this?
What is this? We can be horny on main? And...
yeah, basically. There's I like a True Blood. Can I play the game? And I'm like, yeah, sure, bro. I found advantages seems to be a part where a lot of players get confused on what they can actually do. And it might be because a lot of people are used to D&D, where what your character's abilities are very concrete and laid out, and this is what it is. This is exactly how many dice you roll. There's not a lot of room for interpretation. And then this is all the interpretation on top of... I think sections of this might have been written by people who had English as a second language, which is great. Nothing against that. It's just, as a native English speaker, sometimes you have to read things 2 or 3 times to get it, the grammar to click.
Mm-hmm. And
when you're getting into a new system on top of the Smite grammar wonkiness, it's a little what? Qua? Yeah. So we're gonna break that down. Basically, keeping this to the core book and a little bit of errata and V5 companion. So.
Ooh, simple.
Yeah, because I have the core book from 2018. So some of the errata edits are now in the new published books through Renegade, so you don't have to worry about that. But if you have the older book, go get the errata.
Okay,
there's some notes.
I didn't know they updated the core. That's cool.
Yeah, yeah. Apparently, if it's being the core book, if it's printed through Renegade now, any of the errata updates should be in there.
Yeah.
Okay, so
cool.
From what
Not
I've
the
read.
companion though.
No, that you should still get, but it's free anyways.
Right.
And there's extra cool goodies in there, so you might as well just have it.
Like the meat scene.
Yeah, Jason Carl, Win Vampire Player's Guide.
I don't think he's in charge of that specifically.
Yeah.
I think you need to put Justin Achilles, who you need to harass.
But look,
You too.
Jason, if you hear this and you feel like reaching out to us to give us some ideas, that'd be cool. I would not mind.
I'm not upset. All right. So, advantages, what are they? These are part of the traits that make up your character. Just a refresher for people, because we haven't done a core basic mechanics episode in a hot minute. You have your abilities, which are at the top of the sheet. This is the innate and potential character abilities. So strong, charisma, intelligence, that kind of shit. And then below that, you have skills, which define most reliable and successful applications of character's potential, which is kind of how it's defined in the book.
So driving, hand-to-hand combat, research, stuff like that.
Yeah, intimidation, those kinds of things. And advantages generally are below that on the character sheet. These define your character's life. There's some details on this more in the What is Your Story section, page 149 in the core book. These advantages need to be relevant to your character's life. Think about advantages that might produce the best story for your character. Examples of this would be like a socialite or barfly will have various contacts, while a college student who's become a vampire might function better feeding on mortals who are taking Adderall, which is like the high-functioning addict. Metaphor, not metaphor, merit. Dear God.
Kind of both.
Kind of both.
Yeah.
You know.
I will say personally, I always look at advantages as almost the biggest meat of a character.
Yeah, so these advantages, if it helps narrow it down at all for you, is just what are things your character does or people that they are involved with regularly, and you can kind of start from there and kind of build out.
Yeah, it's basically stuff about the character that isn't directly tied to their distinct abilities.
Yeah, these are things that like exist outside of you usually, though there are some merits that are very intrinsically like, okay, so you're hot.
Yeah.
Or you can eat rancid blood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a handful of those, but that's generally kind of how it is. Storytellers may limit access to or require certain advantages for player characters or the whole coterie. Keep this in mind at session 0. Just depending on the theme in the game you're running, there just might be things where it's like, hey, so one of you needs to have contacts in with the local university. I don't care which one of you fuckers takes it, just one of you, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's a session 0 discussion. There's also no penalties for having 0 dots in advantage. Basically, you can kind of think of these as bonuses or proficiencies on top of what your character's base able to do. So, for those who are used to D&D, so you know when you have your background in 5e, and it has, you have proficiency in navigation tools. It's like that level of shit. Or thieves tools.
Yeah.
Or
thieves tools.
I'm good with heavy armor.
I know how to move with 100 pounds of metal on my body.
Yeah. That kind of
Let's
shit.
go.
So advantages can be broken down into basically 5 types, I have found. I wish this was broken down a little bit more explicitly in the book. I had to basically flip between like 3 sections in the core book to get this all to make sense. So if you were confused, do not feel bad. It literally took me months the first time getting the book to wrap my brain around this fully. So
I read half of it and understood it perfectly.
Did you?
No.
I love you. You're so pretty.
He just pretended to, and it mostly worked anyway.
Yeah.
When you have a high charisma, I'm just saying.
You don't have to be good at things.
No,
You
you just pretend to be good at things.
You can fake the hell out of things.
Hell yeah. So the 5 advantages that you get are merits, which are inherent gifts of the character, whether these are physical, social, mental, or supernatural. So this is like, I can eat food. I'm real good with languages, that kind of shit. Backgrounds, external gifts that the player should rationalize how the character possesses them. So this is like, I have a lot of influence in the music industry.
I have a fuck ton of money.
I have a fuckload of money. That kind of shit. I have a vampire stepdad. You know, that kind of thing.
At least it's not a vampire step, bro.
Step bro. How are you stuck in the dryer, step bro? Anywho, flaws are quote-unquote gifts that cause ongoing problems for the character. These can be inherent or external, often existing in opposition of an existing merit or background.
Toi.
Yes, that one is confusing because it's not its own section. It's just mixed in with its opposing merit and or background, and some of the layouts on that is not consistent in the book, so it gets more confusing, and I'm sorry.
Things get wonky.
Yeah.
I think they're really fun, though. Like, one of my characters has, like, aversion to wild roses. Like, they're very folklorish. Like, this is where you can add some of the traditional vampire spice that maybe doesn't fall to every vampire.
Yeah, that would be like a merit flaw. So that's like something inherently that's fucked up with you, and then there's background
Steak bait.
flaws. Yeah.
Oh, why? That should be 5 dots. That
Yeah,
should be.
you should get a
You
lot
should be
for
able to
that.
take Ancella and just be like, "That's my only thing."
I can explain the logic behind that later. It's one of those not super intuitive, but it's fine.
It's not super easy to stake somebody, too.
No, it is
So-
not.
That-
But yeah, then if you want like a flaw, But yeah, then an opposition of a flaw for a merit is flaw background where it's like, I have enemies.
Right.
Yeah.
Lanyap's almost done with our Blood and Jazz game, and it's not come up yet, but like stuff like that, like little folkloric stuff. Maxime has a folkloric block. He can't go into places unless he's invited. None of the characters, and it's never come up because just the way he's playing. But if somebody pays attention, it does add an enrichment to the character, because you're just like, why is he so polite? Like, why is he doing this? Like, it can add an interesting, like you said with Ellis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ellis is the one who can't, who's afraid of wild roses. But there's a bunch. I think one of them is you can't cross a running stream of water.
That
Or you
also
have to
used to
count
be
rice.
that also used to be a La Sombra thing for a second.
Yeah.
That doesn't make
Back-
sense for La Sombra, though.
Well, it's because they were
They
Dracula.
travel. They're sailors.
What was the
They couldn't cross running water, but it was streams, not like oceans. It was kind of the Dracula thing. Yeah. They had a lot of them back in the day that was just like, you just said Dracula.
which is also technically a influence background. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So we have merits, backgrounds, flaws, and then there's thin blood merits and flaws. That's its own fucking section.
Ugh.
We'll cover that when we cover thin bloods.
Yeah.
And then there's lore
The
sheets,
pores.
which are gifts that tie the character to the wider meta plot of the World of Darkness. That will be the next fucking episode. I'll cover that then.
Lore sheets are cool, guys.
Lore sheets are cool. It's
So-
going to
Lore
be its own
sheet-
thing.
Tune in.
I will state for the record, I believe everyone should either get a free lore sheet dot, or you should always take a lore sheet when you're creating a character, because they add so much flavor to the character. But
They're my favorite V5 edition. That's why I was a little disappointed when they didn't have them in Hunter, but we'll talk about that more next episode.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so where is the info for all this shit? Within the core book, Advantages starts on page 179, and there's breakdowns for merits starting on 179. Backgrounds begin on page 184. Thin Blood, Flaws, and Merits is page 182, and lore sheets, the actual listing of them in the core books on page 382. It's in the back of the book. If you're looking into other books, just check the table of contents. They move that shit around.
Lore sheets are almost always in the very back, though, I've noticed.
There's a couple of books where it's just in the middle for some fucking reason.
As
But
somebody,
it's its own chapter.
yeah, I was about to say, as somebody who's doing background research for that, currently while we're recording this, in Chicago by Night, it's in the middle of the fucking book.
That's one of the only books I don't have.
Yeah, because I was literally like, oh, I should check for the lore sheet that I need to add to the list. And I'm just scroll to the end. I'm like, there's nothing here. Table of contents. I'm like, this is on page 268. It's in the middle of the fucking book.
Yeah, just check table of contents. It'll be in there.
They usually have a thing that just bold says lore sheets.
Yeah. So,
Shit's wonky, man.
the way these work. So at base character creation, with whatever prototype you get, there will be some advantages and flaws. Just write down what it says. And then you get 7 advantage dots and 2 flaw dots for a base character, which is a fledgling. And then if you do see a time, you have 15 XP as a neonate that you can spend in advantages if you so choose. If you go and sell it, you get 2 more advantage dots and 2 more flaw dots, as well as 35 XP. That can also be crunched down into advantage dots.
Which
You can just spend all of your XP and being like, all of the advantages.
If you want, yeah. Trait cost. So, advantage dots are 3 XP per dot flat, so it's not too difficult to math. So if you're buying 3 dots in advantage, it will cost 9 XP as opposed to the third dot in a skill, which would cost 6 XP to go from the first dot to the second, and then 9 XP to go from the second to the third, which would be a total of 15 XP.
Right. But so it's on lore sheets. Never mind.
No, what?
I was going to say, but if you wanted to get multiple dots in it, you'd still have to pay 3 for dot 1. And then if you wanted also dot 3, you'd have to pay 3 again. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, if you have, I covered that in this, but everybody's getting ahead of themselves on me on this. It's throwing my brain off. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. So advantages, especially backgrounds, can be bought multiple times. So if you have 2 dots in herd amongst the IT department in your business, and then over the course of your story, you can gain 2 dots in herd from the legal team. So those are 2 separate herds.
That makes sense.
But you can buy herd multiple times. Advantages are bought separately and are self-contained. So that's kind of what you were mentioning earlier, Skipper. If you have a 2-dot herd in IT and a 2-dot herd in the legal department, these do not combine into a 4-dot herd group. But if you were to spend time cultivating more IT techs into your herd, you could expand it by buying a 3rd dot, which means that the IT herd is now a standard 7 to 5 vessels and not 4 to 7 vessels from the 2-dot plus 7 to 15 vessels with a third dot, bringing you to a herd of 11 to 22 mortals.
You have a lot of people to eat.
Yeah, I've had a few people get really confused about that because, you know, it lists on the section in herd like how many roughly people are in a herd, so you can kind of keep track of like NPCs. So yeah, I've had people be like, oh yeah, so if I'm going from the second dot to third dot, I'm adding 15 people to my 7, right? And I'm like, no, you're going from 7 to 15. So you're only adding like 8 people.
Right.
So
But still a lot of people.
it's
Yeah, that's
still a lot
still-
of people.
You still got a lot of people to snack on if you
Yeah, you got
if
a lot
need
of
to.
snack packs. But yeah, so that's, so each background or advantage dot thing that you buy, it's its own separate thing that you can't expand upon, and if you want to buy more than one, that's fine. Advantages can be earned and lost through gameplay, especially the background dots. This will reflect the fluctuations and fortune of the character over the course of the story. Guideline, though, that is given is that characters should be able to regain or replace advantages that they have purchased at creation or through XP. So if over the course of a story, you have a character that needs to buy a haven really quick for plot reasons, well, they have 4 resource dots, which that would mean they have 4 dots of just liquid assets. And if they're just burning that to be able to buy the haven, they could burn like 3 of those dots. Just being like, I want a really nice house. Boof. That basically means, you know, you've burnt all that liquid cash. So they may be down to 1 dot of resources for the next financial quarter or however long in your game, but they should be able to like recoup that and get back to 4 dots eventually.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, sometimes in the story you're just like, okay, cool, I've invested in this thing. And then the plot goes, but what if it was burned? And now you're just like, cool, well, that's, like 12, 15 XP just gone. I'm like,
Right.
that sucks. So talk with the S team, be like, okay, am I going to be able to recoup this over time? And I'm just temporarily out of it? Or am I going to be allowed to take those XP dots and invest it in something else?
Yeah.
I would even say in that specific scenario, you know, you have a house and you've put a bunch of dots in Haven to make it nice. It burns down. Well, if you spend all those dots and all that money getting the Haven, you probably had good insurance on it.
Yeah.
So I would say, all right, well, you don't have that anymore. Take all those dots, put it in resources for a little bit.
Yeah.
And now you know, your insurance pays out in a couple weeks, and now you have a bunch of fucking money.
Yeah, so you basically crunched out your 3 resource dots into now having a 3 dot haven. But, you know, a few sessions later, with time maybe, then you're back to your 4. And baby. Yeah, so don't be an asshole and steal things from your players because, you know, the plot needs to be spooky and dark and blah.
Yeah, and if you're going to take stuff away from them, at least, like, convert it, like Sarah said. It feels mean if you have spent your hard-earned XP and it's taken away for no good reason. If you piss off a contact and take advantage of them, these are the consequences of your actions. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you could lose the contact entirely, but then, you know, you get different contact or now you have influence or something else.
Yeah, something.
But yeah, also another guideline note, any advantages that have been earned through gameplay should be temporary unless invested by the player. So over the course of an investigation, for example, the character gets on the good side of a biker gang. You get 2 dots and allies bikers for the course of this story arc. If your character wants to spend time and hang out with them and considers this an investment to keep as allies, you can lock that down with XP, and now that's just part of your character.
Right.
Or you could just be like, okay, biker friends, bye. Well, those
Thanks
guys
for
were
kicking
neat.
those guys' head in.
Yeah.
I'll call you again sometime, maybe.
Cool. I got this cool jacket now, guys.
And 80s Star Wipe. Ba-dum-bum.
Unfortunately, none of them heard you yelling goodbye because their motorcycles were blah-ing away.
That sounds about correct.
Sorry, I just love that because it's accurate and it always just sounds like a fucking happy pit bull. Just
But yes, flaws that character creation are listed in the book per your predator type on C of time actions. So depending on how you've built your character, you're going to have more or less flaws. Extra flaws that you want to take on at character creation can allow for chances to earn XP during gameplay, but are not exchangeable for bonus XP at creation like in earlier editions of Vampire.
Yeah.
The amount of fights I've gotten into with veterans. They're like, no, this is how it works. I'm like, not in V5 anymore, my guy. You can take them if you want because you're interested in exploring that for your character. I don't care, but you're not going to get extra XP. That's not how that works anymore. I'm sorry.
I mean, it's a bummer, but also, like, that's okay. Because I feel like it was just too many people that I encountered were like, I'm going to take all these flaws to get these points. Weird, obscure flaws that will be difficult to come up or won't be encountered. So that's fine.
Or I'm going to have so many 1-dot flaws that we're just going to get tired of dealing with it or forget that I have all of these when they do come up.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love the old hard and fast rule. Just be like, if this doesn't actually affect your character, you're not going to get shit. Because I was fine, and when I'd been trying to make a character, I would try to get like maybe like 3 to 5, 7 max flaws to like get stuff. But I'd always be like working with the ST to be like, hey, I want you to be able to fucking fuck with me with this. That's the only way this is fair. This is the only way this isn't me just going, give me free stuff. But again, I enjoy the new system. It's not too bad. Like worst case scenario, you just look at your ST and go, can I be Ancella?
Yeah, well, it's like I don't want to dissuade character or people from being like, hey, there's a flaw here that makes sense for my background, but I've already spent all the flaws that I have for creation. I'm like, dude, just take it. You're just writing more plot hooks for me and making less work for me to fuck with. And it's like, and dude, if you want to get invested and like write a backstory for this enemy and then like give me a rough stat block, like I will make sure this comes the fuck up and make sure you get a bonus XP for that.
Yeah.
Probably multiple.
Yeah.
So, hooray. Teamwork. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's as if this is a cooperative game.
Yeah. And most...
No,
it is
I'm
not.
here to
How dare.
win.
I'm here to win World of Darkness.
I want to whim.
While most advantages scale from 1 to 5, flaws scale most cases 1 to 2 dots. A lot... I don't entirely understand the logic of why the flaws range from 1 to 2 dots and everything else is on a scale of 1 to 5 mostly. It basically, I just kind of counted for storyteller as like, pay attention to the 1 or 2 dots as like, is this easy mode or hardcore mode?
I kind of take it as they're continuing to de-incentivize just taking a ton of them, or because at most a new character, unless you're playing like deep into the sea of time, you're going to get 2 dots. So you're either going to have 1 really bad flaw or you're going to have 2 minor flaws. And for most characters, I feel like that's something you can keep track of and keep interesting in a story. But if you end up with like having to like nitpick between like, well, I have 4 dots in this and 3 in this, and I think just doing 1 or 2, that's it. I think it simplifies it enough without making like the huge focus on it like it was in the older edition, where you could be like throwing all these weird dots into like weird mental illnesses and stuff. It's just like a couple dots. They're pretty simple. You see something, you like it, or you're like, I love this thing. I can't stop looking at her. It's like, I can't do that. Sorry. Can't go in there. Not allowed. No one said invite me. It's like, it's just a yes or no kind of system instead of being like adding extra rolls to it. It's like, well, you have a 4 dot, so you need to roll against your 4 dot flaw. I think it just simplifies that down.
Yeah, it only makes reading it wonky because you're like, oh, okay, here's the positive version of this advantage. It scales from 1 to 5, where I'm like, kind of like, it's a little helpful to like, I am the God King. I can throw all the money at whatever. And then you read the flaw section. It's like 2 dot, get fucked by the prince. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
It's just the power scaling is not super intuitive. And you're like, what? So it's, think of the flaw dots as the challenge ratings that the ST has to pay attention to.
Well, and I think that for the flaw dots, like for some of them, it gets even more confusing, like enemy. Enemy was one of the most confusing things I ever took. I almost wish that I didn't take it, because it's like, enemy. Okay, you can get so many dots of enemy, but then your actual enemy is equivalent to an ally of double the rating.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I do talk about that in the next section.
What the fuck? Well,
you're good, hon. It's actually a good transition. So we're gonna talk about...
No, I was saying what the fuck is in like, why has it got to be so confusing?
Yeah, it's one of those... we decided, and by we I mean me mostly, decided we're just gonna go in depth on the more confusing of the advantages. Hopefully clear up some things. Allies, unfortunately, is like the first advantage, and it is formatted completely different than literally all the other advantages. So you read it and you go, this is how everything else is going to be formatted, and then nothing else is. So allies, basically these are mortals who support your character. These characters have their own lives outside of you. They usually appear once per story arc, and they may ask you for favors in return. These ones are added to the relationship map.
Yeah, so they
exist, they are people, they do things, but they exist outside of you and have their own fucking lives and bills and shit.
One suggestion that I've seen in a lot of people who use like context and Shadowrun is if you have people working together, in a party situation, you usually don't want to allow multiple characters to invest in the same ally, just because it gets messy. If you have someone doing something for the party and you have one guy, I've got 1 dot in this character, and the other person's like, well, I have 5 dots. It gets messy, like, oh, well, he'd totally fuck over the guy with 1 dot, but not the guy with 5 dots, but they're all working. It adds a lot of complexity to where I would say if one character has 3 dots in them and you're all working together, you can kind of all lean on that 3 dot. And then you just spend that on a different
the
ally.
nice thing, at least with V5, is because you have the coterie backgrounds and merits. If that's the case, that could just be a coterie ally or contact, as opposed to each person in the coterie buying them individually.
Yeah, something like that. But I guess I would just suggest that you don't let players take multiple allies who are the same.
Yeah. Unless you really want to get into the catty bitchy backstab, if that's the kind of game you want to play, then like, cool. But otherwise, you are correct.
Yeah.
Because some people are just like, I like fighting my friends.
Well, and I feel like for me, like, I like the idea of 2 people having the same contact, because maybe that is like a contact point for them. That is like the way that they are connected. You know, like a character has a contact who is in a biker gang, and someone else is in that biker gang and knows that dude, and they are contacts. Like, well, maybe they've hung out at the same parties, or maybe maybe this contact is the one that put these 2 in contact. You know what I mean?
That's not bad. I would almost suggest even then, though, to maybe make their allies 2 different members of the same biker gang or whatever. So it's like they'd still be in situations where they could have met previously, but they're not.
Well, yeah. Well, the thing is, you guys are a little bit conflating allies and contacts. So allies would be the biker gang, and then the contact would be Big Steve.
Oh, no, sorry about that.
Yeah, no, you're good. I just want to make sure, like, because of the show we are doing, that this was clarified. So you can have one person's like, oh yeah, I have like 2 dots and allies with this biker gang. And then somebody's like, yeah, my 3-point contact is Big Steve from the biker gang.
Right. Okay, cool.
So like, yeah, there's multiple ways this could be handled. And this could also just be you formed a coterie and you guys have allies in this biker gang, generic biker gang.
Right.
With Big Steve.
I used to work with a guy that we called Pork Chop. He was a big dude, but he was in a biker gang.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and his nickname in said biker gang, Pork Chop, if you hear this, please don't come and beat me up or anything. But his nickname in the biker game was Avalanche, because he was known for, when he got in fights with people, just picking them up, slamming them against the wall, and then punching them in the stomach repeatedly.
I like that this man, whose name is Pork Chop, has a nickname.
I know.
That's just a name with more syllables.
Wait,
Yeah.
no.
We called him Pork Chop. He was given the name Pork Chop when he worked with us. Yeah.
I was about to say the logic of that is just like, no, you have your nice nickname, and then you have your dark nickname. You're just like, here's my dark form.
It's never
He was
Pork
funny,
Chop.
though. He was funny, though. He also was really into RC drag racing.
Oh, hell yeah.
So he had this like $300 RC car that he brought to work one time, and was just like pew, 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 through the parking lot.
That's
that
amazing.
sounds.
It was a lot of fun.
That's delightful.
I would also state for the record on violence protocols, slamming somebody against a wall usually ends a fight real quick. I feel the pounding in the stomach was just ensuring
Avalanche.
almost unnecessary.
Avalanche.
Yes. But to put us back on the rails. So allies is a group of mortals that are like, yeah, you're cool, we'll do a thing for you. But, I might need you to like help me with a thing, because, we're bros. That's how friendships work. The stats on this, per the core book, are you're built on a budget based on effectiveness of the group and the reliability of the group. These are 2 different stat points for building an ally group. These combined are capped at 6 dots and have a 1 dot minimum.
So you have to spend at least 2 dots.
No, you can just spend 1 dot.
So you spend 1 dot and you get the first dot in each.
Not necessarily.
Oh boy.
Thanks, guys, for making it easy to do.
Yeah, just for like the ha-has, you could have a 1 dot, I know these guys, they kind of can do some stuff, but they're just fucking super flaky.
They're really tough, but
Like,
if they show up or not, who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, you could buy a group that's like 3 dots in effectiveness, no dots in reliability. You can absolutely do that.
Oh no, I know that. What I'm saying is, to buy it, you have to at least you have to buy the first dot in effectiveness and the first dot in reliability to have a 1/1.
Yeah, basically.
So yeah, you
1/1
have to
flyer.
You have to buy 2 to get the first dot, the first ally.
That's at least a
check.
2 dot.
right?
Basically, I hate the way this was built, but
Yup.
basically, this is the only thing that goes up to 6 dots in V5 for some fucking reason. There's 2 charts one for effectiveness, one for reliability, and they give you the information on like what that correlates to. To get an ally, you need to spend 1 dot, and this 1 dot can either be on their effectiveness or the reliability. So if you want to have a rating on both, you have to have at least a minimum of 2 dots. Mm-hmm. You do not have to have those 2 dots sunk into both categories. Mm-hmm. You can have them in one or the other.
So if I were to buy an ally and put 2 dots into effectiveness, they would automatically get that first dot of reliability because that's the minimum.
Nope.
So they would have 0.
Yes. Yeah, to have any kind of ally at all, you need to have 1 dot.
Okay. So you can have 1 dot in reliability and 0 effectiveness.
Yes.
That's crazy. Okay.
Yeah, and they give you stats for like up to 3 dots for one category and up to 4 dots in the other. Mm-hmm. So if you wanted to fully max out, that's 7 dots, but they cap you at 6.
What?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. As an weird. ST, I'd be like, if you want to buy the 7th dot, who fucking cares?
I have some notes about that, but yes.
Okay. Cool.
But I'm just reading this verbatim on how it is written in the book.
Yeah.
Sorry, did you have a question?
I did, but I wanted to get to the section so I could properly ask it, unless you have it in the notes, which is just like, I remember reading in context, they're just like, oh, this is what like a 1 to 2 to 3 is, and I'm just like, is that the reliability? Is
Contacts don't have reliability ratings.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah, no, this is specifically for allies only. And this is the only thing that does this, except for
So if you guys are
retainers.
Confused about advantages,
don't feel bad.
Don't feel bad.
It sucks that it just sucks that in the advantage section, the first thing you're hit with is really wonky.
Mm-hmm. And works differently.
And it works differently than almost everything else in the book, and it is also the only one formatted in the way that it is.
Yeah.
And you're just like, why did we do this? But it's fine. We'll get through it. But yes, so when you however many dots you decide to spend on your little allies group, you may use the mortal templates to build out the NPCs if you want, or if you just want to have them as a flat difficulty bonus minus whatever, that's fine. Do with that what you will in your game. Thankfully the mortal templates section is literally built right in where the allies section is in the advantages book, so it's right fucking there. So that's kind of handy. The number of people that make up an ally group is equal to the total number of dots. So if you have a group that is got 2 dots in effectiveness and 2 dots in reliability, that is 4 homies.
Okay.
So if you have a group that is 3 dots in effective and 2 in reliability, that is 5 homies.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so those numbers go up pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. The nega version of allies is enemies. Mm-hmm. The part that is confusing. So enemies are mortals that do you harm. They do not like you. Sam, I am. Enemies are rated at -2 dots for what their effectiveness is. So for an example, an enemy that has an effectiveness of 3 would count as a 1 dot flaw.
Yes.
Cool. All enemies have the same reliability score, which is basically the speed of plot and should appear at least once per story.
Yes.
So basically, when you're buying, the easiest way to kind of wrap my brain around figure out how enemies should work, don't worry about buying fucking effectiveness, or don't worry about buying reliability. Sorry, for the enemy. Mm-hmm. They will just show up when the ST decides, so don't fucking worry about that. When you're buying an enemy, just focus on how much are they going to kick your ass, which is effectiveness.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And their challenge rating on the ST 1 dot or 2 dot flaw is basically dependent on what the enemy effectiveness would be.
Right.
So if it's a 4 or 5 dot enemy group, that's basically a 2 dot flaw.
Right.
So hopefully that makes more sense.
Yeah, not really, but yeah. Yes, because okay, sure, gotta be tough. You're fighting a whole coterie, essentially.
Yep.
Yes. Now, Sarah's cheat.
But you still have to fucking deal with the contact rules, which is confusing.
What do you mean the contact rules?
Ally rules.
The ally rules.
Which is confusing.
Yeah, it is. It's a little confusing. This is why I have Sarah's cheat. But yeah, Sarah's cheat on this is I don't separate effectiveness and reliability. Basically, I will talk to the player to figure out how reliable the ally group will be based on the character's interactions with the group and how much time and investment and da-da-da-da. And I basically will treat the ally group kind of similar to how you treat touchstones. where if the character spends time trying to maintain the connection, they will keep the ally dots where they're at. But if you just like stop talking to the group or are asking them for too many things, they will get annoyed and will fuck off. I consider them basically like mini touchstones.
Yeah.
So, and I just have you guys buy allies just 1 to 5 and keep it simple.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like that a lot better.
Yeah.
I mean,
so basically like a 5-dot ally would have this ally group would have roughly the same plot weight as like a baron or a prince.
so yeah, that way you could, it's a little cheaper to get the allies, but they're not wrote how effective they or reliable they will always be. They can flux based on like character interaction and, you know, the consequences of your actions.
Yeah, basically it's like you're buying them on a scale of 1 to 5 of effectiveness, and I was kind of keeping the scaling for that similar to how the Maula scaling is, which I'll talk about later. And that I just kept all the other allies things where it's like, yeah, if you have a 1-dot ally, it's like one guy that you know in the group and he can only do like a couple of things. And then how reliable the group is just kind of depend on how much of a piece of shit your character is. So,
Yeah.
Fair enough.
it's been pretty intuitive. We've been doing that and it's been fine. No
Yeah.
one's bitched, but that's not in the book. So I just wanted to,
Yeah.
wanted to be honest. That's not the rules. But that's what I've been doing and it's been fine. So any other allies, questions, confusions, concerns?
No.
So next would be fame.
Fame. Yes. Which is mortals know you through the cultural milieu. I just never get to use that word. I was very excited. Basically, these dots can be used in social tests. Basically, you're using your social pull or clout for exclusive access to things. And you're also going to subtract fame dots from the difficulty when interacting with fans, or if you're like doing hunting, depending on your predator type, because, you know, you're a cool guy. People know and like you. It's a lot easier to get them to go with you somewhere.
Fame is rad.
Fame is pretty rad sometimes.
Ken has fame, and I can't tell you how many times mortals have started to get shitty, and then he'll be like, "What's up, man?" And they'll be like, "Wait, you're Ken?" And I'm like, "Yeah, bro."
calm
and
down.
they're like, "Yeah, cool." Like, we almost got in a fight with a dude because he stole our parking spot not long ago, and Ken got out of the car and started talking to the guy, and he was like, "Oh my god, my girlfriend loves your stuff. Will you sign a CD?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, sign
Yeah,
the
bro.
CD." The guy gets in his car and just fucking drives off.
Hell yeah.
It was great.
Yeah. Downside, increased difficulty to stealth as people recognize you in public.
Is a thing.
Yeah.
Yep, fair.
So if you have high enough fame, it gets hard to be like, cool, I'm just going to walk with my friends down the street to this club and try to be stealthy, do cool vampire business. And then just mortals are coming up and they're like, oh my God, it's Ken. Selfie, please? Can I touch you?
Can I touch you? No.
Do not.
Get away from me.
Absolutely do not. They're just recording. They come up to you already recording a TikTok and you're
Ugh.
just like, dude, fuck off, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was goods and bads.
I talked to Yannick about being an in-between.
Oh, yeah.
If
that's
fans
true.
get too bad.
Like a bodyguard.
Yeah.
That's amazing. You can also buy fame dots amongst fellow vampires. This would be a separate purchase, as fame usually counts towards mortal society. So if you want to be somebody that, like, mortals don't know, but within the vampire world, basically, if you want to be a Beckett, you can do that with fame. You just have to make sure that it's, like, noted specifically and bought separately from buying just general fame.
Yeah.
Right. I feel like that while that direction makes sense, where if you want to be famous specifically in kindred society, it wouldn't work with mortals.
Yeah.
Fair. I feel like the fame dots with mortals should transfer over somehow. Maybe not fully, but like
Just a little
half
bit.
your rating, you know, or something like that. Because just because you're known and vampires are kind of entwined so heavily in the mortal world. Does that make sense?
Basically, you could argue, because that's kind of similar to how influence is run, and I'll go over that in the next segment or two.
Okay.
But I, as an ST, if somebody argued, like, hey, I have 4 dots in fame within, like, the music world, could I use the fame to enhance a social role with a kindred? And I was just, and depending on the kindred, it's like, well, they're into music. Yeah, do it, but you could do it at, like, one step down, basically, because it's like,
Right.
well, they're not mortals, so they're not as, like, ingrained in that society, so they're not going to be as, like, hyped about you, but they're all like, yeah, I heard your last album, sure.
I would also state they could do that for the inverse, where it's just like, that might also be a low-level infamy, because some of the cam people could be like,
Slightly different, but yes.
Yeah.
Because the book does note, and it's kind of funny that, so if you were like somebody like a Dracula, specifically, because he does exist in World of Darkness, you would basically have to buy Fame Dots, Immortal Society, and Vampire Society because you're famous in both spheres, but for entirely different fucking reasons. So that's or like Elizabeth Bathory also.
Right.
It's like, yeah, she would have like 4 dots in Fame in the Mortal Society, and then would have 4 dots in Vampire Society, but those would be like 2 different pools, and those could flux over time. Technically, that was a good knuckle pop, though.
I usually have pretty good ones.
That was pretty good. I wish.
It would definitely depend, because like if you have like 4 dots as like a TikTok influencer or whatever, like most mortals are going to be like, oh, I've seen, even if it's just reposting on another website or something, like, oh, I've seen clips of your videos, whatever. But like the 200-year-old guy who's just like a Camarilla harpy who's like, we don't use technology. It's going to be like, wait, you make money by going to a theme park? I like you less now.
Who is Jake Paul? God, I wish. I wish I lived in that world.
Wait, but who is Jake Paul?
Anyway.
A mediocre wrestler.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. The flaw version of Fame is infamy, which is you're famous for doing something bad, which is where that came from.
Exactly.
So this also does follow the same rules of infamy. Normally is a mortal-centric thing, but if you want to buy it for Vampire Society, you can.
Right.
It will just be, a different purchase, but you could do that.
For example, Theo Bell probably has a 4 dot in infamy after he blew Harstadt's head off.
Amongst the Camarilla, yes. They're amongst the Anarchs, they're just like, yes!
Hell yeah!
That's some king shit. Not that we acknowledge unjustified hierarchies or anything, but...
Yeah.
I think
job.
I think in what's it say? In like a story moment like that, if you're going to give players one, I think it would be fun to give them the opposite in like an opposing faction. Like, if you fuck things up for the Camarilla so bad that the Anarchs are like, maybe this guy is cool. Or like you do something so horrid that the Sabbat are just like, maybe this guy's onto something. Maybe we can turn him.
Yeah.
Maybe he's on that good.
Just like, oh, you did a fucked up thing, so I'm going to give you a 2 dot infamy amongst Vampire Society, but you now have a 4 dot fame amongst the Sabbat.
I mean,
Get fucked.
It
I
is.
don't want it. I
I
don't
don't
want
want
it.
it. Well, quit being a jackass.
Yeah, it is a good way to balance that until they buy the dot that they got from it. I would say if they spent the 6 XP for the fame, they'd be like, okay, cool, the infamy goes away. Slowly but surely.
It depends on,
I mean, you can be both.
Yeah.
You can be famous for like Mother Teresa. There we go.
Yeah.
She's famous for being super loving and caring and blah blah blah. And then all that real shit came out, and now she's also infamous for being selfish and a user and be sad.
basically
Abusive.
trying to gain clout off of the suffering of other people, because, that's a healthy mindset.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So she has both, I would say.
Yeah, but infamy, this will increase the difficulty on social tests by the infamy dot total. So technically, infamy can go from 1 to 5. So if you have like infamy 3 and you're trying to be like, yeah, I'm gonna go into this club and talk to people, everyone's gonna be like, oh my god, he's the guy that like hit that kid with a car. Didn't you murder somebody in Ireland? Like, what the fuck?
No. Yes. No.
Yeah.
Oh, I've never been to Ireland.
What the fuck was that?
Yeah. What was that?
I don't know.
Where was that?
There's a reason in multiple episodes I've said I don't do accents.
I could tell you were going for an Irish accent, but it started slightly Australian and then ended in Cockney.
Yeah.
But it felt slightly Irish the whole time. It was weird.
I am the world. I am the people.
Oh my god.
All of them in one body.
Oh no. Also, note, some NPCs may try to capture or kill you for what you have done because, infamy. 1 dot of infamy also will provide a 1 dot dark secret, since this should be easier to uncover than more life-threatening secrets. That was listed in the book. Do with that what you will.
So you have to have a reason that you have.
Yeah, so if you only have 1 dot in infamy for doing something fucked up, that might be just like, it's so low tier, a lot of people just don't know specifically. So
they know you're a shit, but they don't really know why.
So you're also just going to get a 1 dot dark secret. Now, it doesn't mention if you buy a 3 dot infamy, if you get a 1 dot secret. I would assume not, because then if it's that bad, probably most people know that you steal horses and fuck people's wives. I don't know what you've done.
Steal people's wives and fuck people's horses.
Oh God, no! do not do that. Horses,
I would think that
horses cannot consent.
I feel like the infamy on that would go down the older the vampire.
My agent is calling. I'm sorry.
Oh boy.
Wait,
Wait, why do you get an agent?
I have problems.
Oh, you mean like an agent with like the FBI?
No.
Oh.
Okay. So yeah. So the other flaw version for Fame is called Dark Secret. This has 2 flaw variants. This is seen as the less intense form of infamy since your deed is unknown or only known by like a handful of people. This, for some reason, comes in 1 or 2 dots of options, and they give you like examples of things. So like a 2-dot Dark Secret would be like, you're a cleaver as your predator type, and you need to like not tell people, or you know, you've done a masquerade breach. And then a 1.1 is you owe somebody money who will take your kneecaps.
I have in one of my games currently a La Sombra that has a 2-dot Dark Secret because he's very recently ex-Sabat Diablerist.
Yeah, so fun thing about the Dark Secret Masquerade Breacher thing that I find annoying is if you are a consensualist, they give you Dark Secret Masquerade Breacher, but at 1 dot. But Masquerade Breacher's listed as 2 dots in this section of the book.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that means you've breached the Masquerade in a less intense way because of consensualist, or if this was a type. I don't know.
Yeah.
It seemed to me, it seems like you should just allow players to maybe buy a 1 dot in that too, but like it does seem like, oh yeah, I've breached the Masquerade, but like on the level of someone who is also pretty much a ghoul.
Yeah.
Like, or like that kind of connection to where it's like, technically this isn't something you should be doing, but like if anyone catches on, it's just like, all right, have a sip. It's just my ghoul nose.
Yeah. I was about to say, it also could be like, that could be representative of like a growing movement of people being like, maybe consent. Maybe we could like try to like, you know, be like, hey, I need to eat you, but I don't need to kill you.
That might be a talk with your ST on like how you're handling the consensualist thing, because it could be you're just you're feeding by doing kink play with like knives, and no one's gonna read into that, but it's still technically a masquerade breach, so people in the camera could be an asshole about it.
That's how I read it.
Or are you the kind of person who's doing a full hello, takes hand out like Henry Rollins. My name is Henry Rollins. I am a vampire. May I please have some of your blood to sustain myself? I think that might be a 2-dot flaw.
That might be a 2-dot flaw.
Even if you're just like, hey, is it okay if I do this? Yes. Forget we ever had this conversation.
That might be a 1 dot.
Yeah. Where it's like you're having these conversations with people and they are consenting. You're just then removing their memory of consenting, which is like squicky, but
situation, you're like, well, I got consent and it was fine and they enjoyed themselves, but now I need them to forget they did that.
Yeah, this does feel a little bit
you're right, it is still squicky. Yeah, it's a little squicky.
I think that it would not be squicky if you had that conversation and told them that would happen too, though.
That's true.
Like, I'm a vampire, I need to sustain myself, we're gonna have a good time, you won't remember it by the end of the night.
Are you okay with this?
Sure. All right.
What if they say
Snacky
no?
snack.
Then you just go, okay, never mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Then you'd be like, all right, sorry, wipe.
and you're forgetting 10 minutes.
Right. Yeah, just forget about it then.
But yeah, if you just go forget about it and don't feed on them, I'm like, that's the least squicky. The most squicky would be like, well, you're not going to remember it anyways.
I really would have preferred if you said yes.
Now you're going against your feeding preference, which is the willing. So, whoops. Take a stain, I guess. The next advantage we're going to talk about is influence. This will be your pull within mortal communities or systems. Influence is wielded in tiers, which I think is a really great system, and you can kind of ape this over into Fame if you want, but they don't talk about this explicitly. So your chosen group or region are affected by the full bout of your dice pool, and each step removed from the core group will remove a dot. So let's say you have 3 dots in influence within the financial world of the Loop in downtown Chicago, where you're like, I'm a big finance guy, I'm in the business sector, everybody knows me. Yeah. I'm the guy with the cool ties that does stuff. Your pool within finance allows you to flex within...
I'm sorry.
Yeah, just your...
I'm the guy with the cool ties that does stuff.
I don't know how financial stuff works.
That's it. You walk in, you say, I got the coolest tie, and then they give you the money.
Sometimes they do. Like, literally. The amount of absolute horseshit within the financial sectors that we've had to be exposed to because of, like, Elon Musk and then what's his nuts with the recent crypto thing.
Oh, a ton of people.
Yeah, well, like, there's crypto in general, but the new big one where he, like, actually did fraud and went to jail.
funny enough, his name is Bankman Fried, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, his name is basically bank fraud, and guess what he did?
Yeah. But yeah, the amount of times I feel like people can just walk into a room with the full just audacity and be like, "Hi, I can do a thing," and people are like, "Yes, here's money, do it."
Yeah, that's good.
As long as I get a profit, it's fine.
That's fair.
Or a believed profit.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're basically like micro celebrities within the tech world, but they've grown to the point where the rest of the world has to find out about them.
Yeah.
So like that is where like you could have like Fame 5 in like the tech world, but like Infamy 2 with everyone else when they realize what the fuck you're doing.
Yeah, and even then you could kind of flavor this as like, oh, you have like 4 influence within like the tech spheres, and then you're able to use that influence into other spheres. Be like, hi, I'm real good with computers. You should let me make roads.
What?
We did that as a society. We let Elon be like, I can redo a highway, and he made literally the most dangerous subway. He just did subways again, but dumber.
That's not surprising.
Not surprising at all. Anywho, but yeah.
Which makes me sad because, like, the theory that he's going for is sick as shit.
Yeah, but we've already done it. It's called public transit. We do that already. It's
Well,
like
yeah.
a society.
I guess what I'm saying is the hyper train.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
With,
It'd just
on
be
that's
like,
on like mag lifts
Yeah.
that moves like 500 miles an hour. That's fucking sick.
Yeah.
probably not underground, but yeah.
Well, depending on, sometimes they go underground, and that's
I
fine.
just don't trust him to do them underground.
Oh, no, I don't trust him at all with anything.
I would trust him to make some toast.
He could go back to running corn fan sites.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's basically how he
Yes.
started his life in the tech world.
But yeah, to get us slightly back onto track with the example. So you got 3 dots in influence within the financial districts of Chicago.
Yes.
If you use your clout and pull within financial businesses stuff within the greater Chicagoland area, that would be influence 2.
Okay.
But if you were trying to broker a business deal with somebody if you were trying to broker a deal with somebody in like the New York Stock Exchange, that would be 1 dot because they're like so further removed from you. But they're like, oh yeah, no, I've heard about your company. Da da da. Sure, I'll
help you out.
help you out. But it's like they're not going to go out of their way. So 1 dot.
Cool. Okay. I like
Yeah.
that.
Or another fun that I thought was kind of evil was so let's say you have 3 dots in influence within the local city government.
Yes.
An area venue who doesn't know who you are specifically, you can threaten to shut them down by using your influence within the city government to be like, well, actually, you're breaking this county ordinance, so I'm going to shut your club down. And they have no idea who the fuck you are.
Right.
They're just like, this fucking square showed up and is now trying to turn down my jams.
And that's how you gain infamy.
Yeah.
Yup.
And that's how you end up with disliked.
Yes.
Which is the first flaw version of influence.
Yes.
Disliked, which is you get a -1 die to any social test with any group within the city except your supporters. So that would be like contacts, allies, herd, that kind of shit.
People you pay to have on your side don't, basically you're not losing dots in everything you've paid for, because that would get
Yeah.
really unbalanced really quick.
It would. So it's one of those like, hey, people that actually interact with you, they're like, oh yeah, no, he's a cool guy. But people that don't know, you're just like, that guy's kind of a shit.
yeah.
I don't like him.
So -1 to all social tests if you have disliked. If you have despised, a group or a region of a city lives to spite you specifically. You've done something and they don't fucking like you.
You shut down their favorite club.
Yeah. So now these guys at the local the fucking venue are just like, he's the bad guy from our 80s movie and now we need to do a fundraiser.
Yes.
Yes,
Also, let's go spray paint his house.
exactly. Baloney on the car.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Sugar
Baloney
in
dicks.
every orifice of that car.
Yup.
Yeah, the ST should take any chance to have these people be involved in your schemes. They should show up and cause problems in some form. You also get -2 on all social pools to convince neutral parties to support you or do you any favors.
Yup.
Yeah, so it can get pretty rough.
Yeah, so that one's a fun one.
And my favorite.
Haven, it is your house.
So strong.
This is separate from domain. That is something entirely separate. Domain will be involved with like coterie shit, so we're not talking about it. Haven is specifically, this is a house, some sort of residence that you live in and inhabit. You can have multiple havens. You can also have a haven that is shared by the coterie as part of your coterie backgrounds.
I would assume that everyone listening to this in real life has no domain, but has some sort of haven in real life, whether it be your apartment or a car you're living in or the house you own. Everyone has some sort of haven.
Doesn't necessarily mean that you own land.
No,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
that would be a higher dot haven.
That that could either be a really high dot haven or would be domain.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, no, I own 50 acres, da 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 da.
Yeah,
Or
and if we have some unhoused individuals that are listening to this, if you have a Discord, join in. We'll talk about the stuff. It's fine.
What?
Unhoused, destitute.
Yeah, no haven. That's
Yeah.
later on. That's okay. I was very just like,
Yeah,
That just
you
came
said,
out of absolutely
yeah.
nowhere.
You said you assume everyone has a haven. I'm like, if you don't, also.
Well, I mean, haven could be everything. Like one of my characters has just an RV that they live out of as their haven. It could even be like, if you really wanted to get into it, like maybe some sort of public housing or like shelter that you stay at could be a small dot haven.
yeah, basically that is covered in, even if you have no dots in haven, you are considered to have a simple or desperate like housing situation. So this could be you're staying in motel rooms, you're like couch surfing, you live in a vehicle, you could have literally a hole in the ground. There's a sliding scale of whatever. So just because you have no dots in haven does not mean you don't have a secure place to stay. So you don't necessarily have to catch fire.
Yay!
So don't panic as a player if you're like, I have to buy a haven. I'm like, technically no.
No.
And also, your character may have a haven as a default from one of their backgrounds, like resources, status, influence, fame, etc. So if you're somebody who's like, I have 5 dots in resources, ST, just give them a fucking haven. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. You don't have to give them a shitload of dots because most of the time the dots in Haven aren't just representing like how luxurious the Haven is. That's
Dependent.
yeah, that's one of them that you can buy into, but it's not. You have a place.
You could also just, I would say, if they're not going to spend the points on Haven yet, but they have like 5 dots in, maybe they have like a really nice penthouse that they go to and sleep and just isn't very story important until they play those points.
It's not story important, or it's I'm a rich guy, I own like 4 houses, and I just kind of bounce between them. And I don't really, he's not particularly attached to any of them because he's just like, I'm just buying property and selling it. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Or you're just staying in really nice hotel rooms all the time.
Right.
That's also an option.
You're like, I'm a CEO of a company. I just get comped constantly for wherever I'm at.
Yeah, there's loads of options. But if you have a haven that's tied into a background like this, if the background is lost, so is that haven. So if you are a really famous guy and people are just like, yeah, we'll give you stuff to just live in this house because it looks cool, and then you aren't famous anymore, no more house.
Okay.
So keep that in mind for plot reasons. Base haven rating is a rough estimate of the haven's size, security, privacy. You can kind of modulate this depending on your character's story, wants, desires, blah, blah, blah. Each dot in a haven adds to the difficulty against invasion, spying, etc. Anybody trying to get in your house. Also, you can add a +1 per base haven rating for characters to notice danger within their own haven. So,
that's cool.
Yeah, so if you're in your house and somebody's trying to do a panic room, like the plot of the movie, and break in and steal some of your shit, if somebody, the SD's like, hey, I'm going to have you do a wits awareness, you can add your base haven rating to that pool.
That's cool.
Nice. So, like, you know your place well enough that you know when something's amiss.
Yeah.
I didn't leave that glass knocked over.
Yeah, you're just like, hold on a second.
That there's a lot of the tropes of like the heroes break into a house to get a thing, and you see like the antagonist be like, that's not where I left you. Like you'll see him zero in on that quick, and it's pretty much that.
My commemorative Garfield mug has been left askew.
Oh fuck, they fucked up.
Yes.
It's lasagna time.
And haven merits and flaws. These can help build up your house if you're somebody who's like, I want to invest into having a library or an armory or having a secret tunnel. I want my house to be haunted, and that's a flaw. I don't know why that would be a flaw.
Well, bad vibes. That's one of my favorite.
Oh yeah, your house can just be creepy.
Yeah, like that's what I was gonna bring up. Like that's one of my favorite fucking flaws. You could just be like, the vibes are bad.
It also may not necessarily be directly a flaw to your character.
Yeah.
Say you're used to the house being haunted or whatever, but like, say a mortal comes to your house, that's a fucking problem.
Yeah, like you could have a haven that is like a 3-dot haven. It's super, super fucking nice. And you've spent the money on luxury to have like kitted out with all the best home furnishing, tech gear, like nice artworks on the walls. But you take the creepy flaw. You basically have Patrick Basement's apartment.
Yeah.
You walk in, you're like, this
It's
is
just like
too nice.
everything is too sterile. And if you're like an art nerd and you're looking at the paintings and stuff, you go, all of these paintings are about murder.
Yeah. I will say I was I was rereading in the book when that, and I forgot that is the most simplistic way to put it. Just the vibes are bad because it's like social tested, seduce, or otherwise put human guests at ease or at 2 dice penalty. I'm like, it's straight up just the vibes are bad.
Oh yeah, you can just go to somebody's like Midwest mom house and you're just like, somebody's in the basement.
Yeah, I do not like all these porcelain dolls.
Yeah. So all the bonuses and various things that you would need for those are listed in the book. There's a lot of them. I'm not going to list them now.
No.
There was one time I was helping my girlfriend at the time, this was high school, move a bunch of Halloween decorations from their garage into the top of their of her grandma and grandpa's
Attic.
barn.
Oh, the barn. Okay.
And I'm carrying like 100 pounds of like spooky lights in a giant fucking bin. I climb up these steps. It's super difficult. At the time, now it's less so. But at the time, I did not like dolls. I just was not a fan of them. They creeped me out. I walk up and I'm focusing on this thing because it's heavy. I don't want to drop it. I don't want to fall backwards on the steps with, 100 pounds of lights on me. I get in, I put it down, and I stand up. And her doll collection is in this house, or in this little apartment. And by when I say doll collection in the apartment, I mean in every room of the apartment, like the furniture was covered, the shelves were covered. She had life-size toddler porcelain dolls, like sitting in chairs. And I was like, I'll bring the stuff to the top of the steps, but I'm not doing this anymore.
This is cursed.
Yeah. It's like, I'm not spending time in here.
The actual version of it.
Yeah, and then the flaw for Haven is called No Haven. You must find a new place to day sleep every night. So it's the less intense version of the Ravnos clan pain.
Right.
Because you don't explode. But yeah, so the next one we're going to cover that's caused confusion is Maula, which is a vampire buddy.
I like Maula.
Maula's fun.
Yeah,
fun.
they're nice.
This can be a single vampire or a group that, for whatever reason, cares about you or is invested in your success. Leave this up to the plot. While they will offer you help, they are not going to fight for you. They have their own lives to unlive, essentially. They have their own bullshit. If they have to go out of their way to help you or risk themselves in any way, this could risk the relationship and you can lose a dot or the Maula entirely.
Dang.
Because they're just like, look, I was here to like give advice and like maybe give you some fucking money and, I want you to do well, but god fucking damn it.
Yeah, you can't just be showing up at my haven with your coterie and 2 werewolves on your fucking tail. Leave.
Yeah, is, you're risking my ass
Right.
on a Sunday? How dare you?
On the Lord's Day?
On Cain's Day.
At Christmas, how dare you? Yeah, so if the Mala group is a group, they will cost 1 more of dot to the equivalent solo vampire. So basically, if you're getting the support of a portion of the Primogen Council, this would cost 5 dots as opposed to having just a single Primogen Council member, which would be 4 dots.
Okay.
So keep that in mind when you're doing these purchases. Note, if your character wants to acquire minor boons from other vampires at character creation, this costs half the points rounded up of the equivalent Maula. This is a note in the Maula section that nobody ever pays attention to. I think it's neat.
Yeah, I never actually looked at that.
Yeah, it's good.
So
I was always like, vampire buddy, that's all I need.
Yeah. But you can have a vampire favor.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So, for an example of this, a minor boon worth roughly 2 dots in resources from an NPC vampire within the city would cost the equivalent of 4 dots of Maula.
Okay.
So,
What if you wanted to get a life boon?
that is not an option.
You'd have to pay 13 dots in Maula.
That is you might want to talk to the ST about that or have a plot thing or something, but like, for base rules, I'm like, it says minor boon.
Fuck off.
That is it. The flaw version of this is adversary, which is a vampire foe as opposed to a vampire friend.
Oh.
These vampires as enemies range from a 1 dot, which is elders, to 3 dots, which is princes. I don't know what's on a scale of 1 to 3. The ST uses adversary status or specific traits to set difficulties, not the actual adversary dot rating. Because it would be weird to be like, hey, I'm going to get into this fight with the prince, and the difficulty rating for everything is always 3 dots.
Yeah, that'd be silly.
Yeah, that'd be very silly. My cheat on this is I use the 1 to 5 scale for adversaries as you would with Maulas, because I think it allows for a wider range of vampire enemies and is a little bit more intuitive to keep track of for NPCs, because it's like, well, I'm already buying these NPCs on a scale to 1 to 5. I don't know why these ones over here are not also on a scale of 1 to 5.
Yeah, I would agree.
But, if you have a system that works better for you to remember what the fuck's going on, go ahead and use it.
I like the idea. Like I don't really get why a 1 dot would be elders too. That seems like
Yeah.
if you're a fledgling,
Why
and
would the elders give a fuck?
right? Exactly.
What did
like,
you do?
I mean, maybe it would be dependent on your age or whatever. Because if you're an Ancella, then like if a fledgling is mad at you, who fucking cares? You know, but
Yeah. I mean, that could be funny if you're playing an Ancella and then you have a neonate enemy and they just wreck your shit, but they're so small fish, you just don't pay attention until it's like a problem.
you're like, wait the fucking second.
hold on a second.
That, or they do it in a way that is so within the rules of like the Camarilla or the Anarch Society that you're in that you can't really retaliate in a way that won't get you in more trouble than this person has you in. So just like they're like slowly just using like the rules of the land to poke at you.
The I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you.
And you're just like, well, if I do anything to this guy for whatever reason, way more people are going to be pissed at me, or I'm just going to look bad that I like lower.
Why are you letting Eddie get to you? Like, he's nobody. Calm the fuck down.
Who cares?
You're supposed to be a member of this council, and yet you're wasting your time dealing with children.
You're dealing with literal children. We have fucking the Secret Inquisition in the city. Why?
Who cares?
Eddie can fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, he's nothing. It's fine. It just absolutely being a menace. So because of those kinds of things, and you know, I just like people can be problems at all levels of society. So
Yeah.
it seems weird to limit the problems to only being
like high-ranking members.
yeah.
Yeah.
But that's a me thing, and run things how you want for your game. It's whatever. But the last one I'm going to cover that has caused confusion is Retainer. This is your bestest mortal friend.
I like that you put quotes around friend.
Retainers are a mortal that must be controlled by the vampire in some way. This can be a ghoul. This can be a very highly dominated subject to the point that they have no free will anymore. This could be done through blackmail. This could be like a wage slave that you have where they're just like, look, they need the fucking money because of medical bills and student loans, and they can't not do these jobs for you. And you're just like, cool, come do these things, minion.
Yeah.
This could also be somebody who's so utterly cucked and simping for you based on the power of your presence. There's many ways you can handle this. This does not necessarily have to be a ghoul.
Right.
Yeah. I like my character Ellis. His retainer is literally just his secretary, like the lady who follows him around and like keeps his calendar and that sort of thing.
Oh,
And
that poor lady.
it's just like I can be like, bring the car around kind of situation, but like she works for me. She's my employee.
No.
Yes, she's also ghouled, but that's beside the point.
That's a benefit.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, but you could just have a secretary who like just knows all of your shit, but you've also just been like, look, if you tell anyone, you're gonna die.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Just take the checks and shut up.
Right.
You've been given the most prestigious position inside of this organization, but if you tell anyone anything that happens, you won't remember, and all of a sudden you'll be a janitor.
Whoops.
It'd be a shame if your house burned down.
Yeah. Friend.
Buddy.
Buddy, old pal. The retainer is a character. This is a person that is usually loyal, but may betray the vampire for the right price or due to mistreatment from the vampire.
So if you just treat somebody like shit, regardless of where they're at, even a ghoul, if you treat a ghoul shitty enough, they will try and rebel.
Yeah. So keep that in mind, players and STs. Just because somebody has a retainer does not mean that this is like a lapdog person that is an extension of the character. They are their own character with wants, needs, desires, and problems.
And one of my favorite templates in the Sabbat book is the Vengeful Ghoul.
I love that shit.
Yeah.
So fucking much.
So
Yeah.
Careful.
Careful with that.
Careful.
The retainer also has their own successes and failures, and if you want to build them out as a full character with stats, there's the mortal template in the core book. There's also additional rules in the V5 companion. So if you want to build like a really cool friend, there's rules for that now. Friend. The flaw for retainer is a stalker.
Ugh.
I'm scared to say this out loud because, well, he listens to the show, but Ken has a stalker.
Oh, no.
It hasn't really come up yet, and I'm kind of afraid that it's just been happening in the background for the past, like, all of the sessions.
Yeah, that is also a plot point for the Blood and Jazz game I'm in, because I am playing a siren, so one of the flaws you get is a stalker, and we've killed them by mistake. So the ST for that game now just likes to periodically message me and goes, so I wonder what your new stalker problem's going to be for season 2. And I'm just like, it's like, fuck you, Chase. Mm-hmm. I love you as a friend. You're a great person. Absolutely eat my entire ass. Fuck you. Because he hasn't told me details. They've not said shit to me. They're just like,
same.
They're just like, hey, so I wonder when this problem will come up. And I'm just like, fuck off. But for more details, a stalker is a person that tends to be attracted to you and gets too attached. This can be romantic. This could just be fan obsession. This could be somebody that like hates you so much they come to your house with a shotgun. You have all sorts of options with this.
You could pull a John Lennon.
Yes. The book says that this person could be a former retainer. I like to leave Stalker more open as a storyteller. I'm like, this could be just random mortals that are not attached to you that you don't know about. This could be somebody you fed on and is now just like trying to figure out what the fuck happened.
Or was so into it.
Was super into it.
That they're like, oh my god, I gotta get that happen. That's gotta happen again.
Like a spurned lover almost.
Yeah, spurned lover, or I also like the option of stalkers also just being other kindred. Where it's like, okay, they're not maybe quite yet where they're like actively trying to fuck with you, but they're just showing up and causing problems.
Right.
So it's kind of the neutral version where they're just like, get the fuck out of here.
I love the idea of having a stalker who's a vampire who just like really wants to figure out how to get you to essentially be their mala. So they're just showing up like, hey, how's it going? I brought you this thing. And you're like, I'm not hungry. Why did you bring me this person? Get them out of my house.
Just like, I know brunettes, particularly the shade of brunette is your favorite.
Right.
And you're like, buddy, I need you to fucking
shut the fuck up.
Like
People are over.
Yeah, you're in the middle of doing actual business, and then this little fucking twerp shows up, and he's like, so I found a security breach in your haven, and I wanted to bring that to your attention. And it's like, is that how you're in here again?
Are you the security breach?
No.
Yeah, I like that idea. That's funny.
I also like the idea of maybe like a detective or a police officer, not actually like a Second Inquisition member, but someone who saw something on a case that like maybe just got, it's a gang shooting. Criminal shot a criminal. We don't care that much. But they reviewed the tape and like, there's something up with this guy. And so they're just like literally just investigating you. Like not even like, this guy's a vampire. I'm going to take care. I need to take him out for the safety of the world. But they're just like, something's up with this.
Yes.
This
a
guy
little bit
seems
of the
suspicious.
a little bit of the tisms, just like this is wrong. I need to figure out why it's wrong.
It's like yeah, I understand this was like a mugging or whatever, but somehow your name came up in the investigation, and they're like, why would a guy who has this much money do that kind of shit? This is what's going on. They just do that detective like, I got a bone, I got a lead, I'm gonna keep following it, and you're just like, get the fuck out. And you're like, I'm not even mad at this guy. He's technically doing his job. But
he's right. I did beat that guy up.
You're right. I am a monster, but I also need you to fuck off. I love that shit. Or just, I have a fear but deep fascination with like internet sleuths. Because there's that whole like chunk of like the true crime community where it's people like picking up cold cases, and half of them it feels are like genuinely like, no, I want to solve this problem. And half of them are just fucking crazy white ladies that need to get better hobbies. But yeah, one of them that's just like, just gets this wild hair up their ass about you specifically. And they're like posting like, it's a not popular YouTube channel. Like only 10 people watch it, but they're just posting everything they could find about you. And they have daily vlog postings about like suspicious things they've caught you doing, or it's like YouTube drama channels. Right.
Even to the point that it seems like they may not be someone who is unhinged. They may be like perfectly sane and like talking real shit. But they just come off as so obsessed that people are like, this person's fucking weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, also, that's just, there's the whole Boston bombing thing where, too, they literally may not actually be onto anything about you, but you were just in the wrong place at the wrong time, and now you're wrapped up into some conspiracy that, like...
Could you imagine being fucking a vampire just doing all this like secret shit, and then there's this fucking bitch who is like thoroughly convinced that you are BD Cooper or whatever dumb shit.
You actually killed JFK.
Yeah. They somehow wrapped you into the QAnon conspiracy theory, and they're just going on these fucking insane diatribes. And you're like, well, she's not said the vampire word or anything, but she fucking has eyes on me, and it's a fucking nightmare.
Yeah, you just like have enough influence and stuff that you've maybe been seen around like the mayor of Chicago or like a couple like local congressmen or things like that. And then instead of being like, this guy's using vampiric powers to like change the laws for everyone, it's more just like, I believe that this is one of the liberal demons that is infecting our society, like full on QAnon, just like scary.
Or hell, even if you want to go from a more rational, like even a leftist perspective, where somebody's like, look, I just want to get dark money out of politics. Who is this guy that keeps showing up at these fundraiser dinners and is donating money into like PACs?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
we're looking into it.
We're looking into it, and you're just like, fuck. Like, this guy's actually a good guy, and he's trying to fix society, and if he keeps digging into me, I'm gonna have to kill him. Fuck.
I'm gonna have to kill him.
Or ghoul him.
Or kill him. I now have a retainer. Shit.
Didn't want it.
I guess I'm getting a new stalker. Yeah. So, thoughts on merits, backgrounds, and flaws, at least for this chunk of advantages.
I really dig them. I think they're great. This kind of relates back to our last episode, but I let my hunter players use pretty much all the ones from this game too. Even the supernatural ones, which, I mean, you could say no, but I think they were I think they added a lot to the game. They fleshed things out a little bit, and I think they're like essential to World of Darkness. They're kind of what differentiates this a large point, I think, from something like D&D or Call of Cthulhu. It's like it's so much building of your character, the world around your character. They're not even necessarily building your character, but they're building how they interact with the world, like how other people perceive them. It really puts your character in a place, and so they're really worth like spending time on because they really do kind of help create the setting that your ST is going to use for your game. By the time you have 4 or 5 players and they all have all these allies and stalkers and havens and infamy built around them, just that alone, and you take those notes, you can kind of build an interesting city out of that. That you can then expand upon. And
And also just adding a lot of the advantages as things on the relationship map. It's a good way to build your spider web of like who knows who and who's connected to what and plot.
You can have a cobweb in your cobweb.
Yeah.
But either way, as I said earlier in the episode, I feel like this is some of the deepest meat to a character. I almost, when I make a character, just go like find out what they are as a person, find their clan, and then just skip to the advantages, because I feel like skills are things you do, disciplines are powers you have, advantages and lore sheets, which we'll get to later, are very much like a core tenet of like they can enrich and like influence your character way more than a lot of the other options. I feel like this is a real easy way. If I wanted to know a character, if I actually wanted to like ST a game and just be like, all right, let me see your character sheet and just skip what type of person they are. Like, what do they do? Like, what's their like things?
Yeah, for sure.
I've liked the advantages pretty much since we started them up because like I like the change where you can't take extra flaws for extra points. I think that overall advantages are relatively easy to understand. It's just like you said, a few of them are written in a way that's like, huh? But also we're playing a World of Darkness game, so we should know by now. Yeah,
just at least for ease of reading, because I try to read things from the perspective of somebody who has no context, is not used to dealing with any of this shit. My only real gripe about this section is literally just formatting.
Right.
Because
that's usual.
It's just each individual section within the merits and the backgrounds and the flaws are formatted differently. So it just makes it hard to do like a reference of like, I need to find this and then quick read through it. Because like even me just writing this episode, I had to reread shit like 4 or 5 times and flip through pages and try to wrap my brain around shit. Because it was just like, if the formatting was at least tried to be mirrored a little closer to be as like repetitive, or just like, here, this is the standard format we're using for each advantage. Keep it to this, but if there's something that needs to be edited a little bit, like that's fine, because it's like it describes the mechanics and what the advantage is, and then there's a section that'll talk about the flaw, and then at the tail end is the dot breakdown of the rough, like, hey, so if you have this at 1 dot, if you have this at 3 dot, if you have this at 5 dot, this is what it means and equates to. And I'm just like, that is super fucking unintuitive, and I fucking hate that so much.
Run a pass with an editor.
Get a textbook editor, man.
Yeah.
At least in parts of the book like that where it's going to be a reference guide and a point and things like that. I'm just like, it drives me fucking up a wall.
Yeah.
And it's kind of my biggest gripe ever with any World of Darkness property.
Yep.
I'm just like, I can't find things I need to run the game because I often ST and I'm dumb and I need to look something up. I just want to control F and find it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that in a textbook.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but other than that, I'm like,
Yet.
I love trying to, as a player, figure out ways to make advantages fit for my character and also try to consider that in options of, hey, so we're doing a task and I know the storyteller asked for me to do this pool, but if I'm like, oh, hey, by the way, so I have influence in this sector of the world, can I use that clout to try and influence I'm just like, yeah, no, go for it.
For sure.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the time, the takeaway for most things in World of Darkness is you should be flexible. Talk to your storyteller.
Yeah.
You can probably figure out a way to make it work.
Yeah. And worst case, it's like, not this time.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, so that's that. Next episode will be lore sheets.
Yeah.
Which is a deeper character thing.
It's a deeper character thing. It's also a completely new mechanic for V5. So
Very
that's
cool.
why we're going to highlight it. Also, if you want to get onto us on the social medias about lore sheets you would like clarifications on, please let us know.
Yes.
Because
hit us
I am
up.
a dumbass.
By the time this airs, that episode will have been recorded already. So there's that. But I will be for those of you who were in our Discord and on our Patreon, I'm going to make a post in both asking people there. So unfortunately, you'll probably miss that by this point. But hey, go check those places out.
Yeah, it's a good reason to be part of the community because then you can help us build these fucking episodes.
Woo!
So,
Yeah.
hooray. Thanks, Paralyze, for music.
Hey.
Before that, actually,
before
I have
that.
one more
Okay.
addendum, one more thing I do want to talk about.
Ooh.
Because we did our Hunter episode last week.
We did.
And just for some clarification, I did start writing that episode when the book came out. I ran it like within a month or two of it coming out, and the script was finished a couple weeks before we recorded, and then it delayed come out. But because of that, I didn't even know it came out till someone pointed out to it. But it was recorded before the expanded mechanics and permutations PDF came out, which we will eventually do an episode on because I think it's interesting and I haven't really dug into it yet. But essentially, during their month of darkness, World of Darkness did, one of the days was a PDF called Expanded Mechanics and Mutations, which is optional rules and core rules that are going to apply to every additional splat or system that comes out for World of Darkness. It's a living document, so it's going to keep being updated. But right now it is additional and optional rules for Hunter and Vampire.
Oh my
so that is definitely something to check out.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, we didn't have that when we wrote that episode, so we'll have to check that out and do an episode on that. And when we do, I'll talk about how I think that affects Hunter, because that was not available for the first, I would say, like 4 or 5 months that game was out, which is when I was doing my playtesting and reviews. So I apologize for any confusion that may have caused, but
Also, thanks World of Darkness team for
like,
doing that.
Doing the thing that we really wanted, which is like, hey, we could really use a companion guide that is universal to the system. So then they're just like already on it. And it's like,
oh shit!
thanks, Dad.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks.
you. Can I have a snacky? It's great.
Yep.
But yeah, so we will get to that. We might have to do a combat episode too at some point.
yeah, one of the things
Combat's fun.
one of the big things it notes is that it does have more advanced tactical combat rules,
Hell yeah.
and it specifically notes that that's something that like Hunter players might want, which I agree. It is very like you versus like this big monster. I think players for that are going to get a little more into the minutia of a fight than like a bunch of super powered vampires JoJoing at each other.
I mean, you'd be surprised. The amount of vampire games that I'm in where somebody at the table is very into paramilitary and action shit.
I mean, to be fair, in our game that Sarah ran, every combat that we had started and ended in the same turn because we were like, "What was that?"
Go hard.
It's fine.
Okay, continue
Okay.
on.
Started and ended in pretty much the same turn because we were like, "All right, we're going into this fight. This is how we're doing this," and then we get in the fight and we execute the plan.
Yeah, you guys just fucking literally executed so many
So
NPCs.
many people.
Yeah.
So I wasn't expecting the combat to be as intense as it was, and then it was, and I was like, well, I guess they're dead.
Yeah, we are very distrusting sort, and we definitely took any sign of aggression as an excuse for
As
aggression.
a threat.
Yes, like when someone tried to meet us once to invite us to a meeting, and they had followed us outside of the city and into a dark parking lot, and we took this as an excuse to open fire. So
They did. And
We
they did.
pink-misted someone and then threw someone through a window.
Yeah, there was like, yeah, because the guy playing the bot, I can't if I remember right, like snuck up on somebody and then just took their head off with an SMG.
Yep.
And then you threw somebody through a windscreen.
It was actually pretty spooky.
The whole thing was very spooky. It was
Yeah.
very thematic. I loved it for you guys, but I was like, as the ST, just sitting there going, I just wanted these gangster guys to be just vaguely threatening and just walk up and be like, "Ayo, so I gotta like give you this from my boss.
To
Show
your
up on
boss."
time. Bye." I just wanted the two goons to show up and just be kind of goons.
Instead, one goon died and the other one peed and pooped his pants.
I literally had to fudge his health bar so that I could give you the invite.
Yep.
I was just like, he should be dead. He should be dead.
Yeah.
But I need these idiots to get the invite. So
I need them to stop being
I-
murder hobos.
I just need. Ugh.
hey, they've to be fair, they had followed us around for like 2 or 3 sessions, just ominously,
Because
like
you guys wouldn't stop at a place where I could have them come up and be like,
Hey,
"Hey,
We have a vampire job for you.
Hey, I'm trying to be unsuspicious, or I'm trying to not draw attention. I'm trying to be nonchalant.
Right.
I'm trying to have this guy do like Goonie gangster shit, and I was just waiting for you guys to stop somewhere where there wasn't a lot of public,
and
Well,
if
we
you're,
did.
and you eventually did. But it was a parking lot that you guys executed in, so like outside of town. So like.
to be fair, I tried to intimidate them. The other players
The other
executed them.
they chose violence.
Yeah, no, Ellis was trying to do gangster shit, and then the other players were like, I see that, and I raise you further gangster shit. Yeah, so that happened.
I'll say the intimidate roll worked.
It did. They were very spooked and distracted, which set you guys up to kill them.
Yep.
But anyway, thanks, Paralyze.
Thanks, Paralyze,
Hey,
for the
thanks.
music. You guys are on Bandcamp, and we appreciate and love you guys. You're good people.
Yeah, keep making music.
Yeah.
I saw they recently had a boiler room set.
Oh, hell
That's
yeah.
pretty sick.
I missed that. That's going to be sick.
Yeah,
We should-
I'll share that on the social media.
Hey.
Share that on the socials. Share it in the Discord. I guess we
Yeah.
could have like a listen party.
Yeah,
That'd be sick. We currently exist on Twitter. We'll see how long that lasts. At @blank_bodies. We exist on Instagram at @blankbodiespod. Instagram's also dying, so we'll see how that goes. We have a TikTok at @blankbodiespodcast. I got really busy with school. Hunter has established us on Tumblr
That's
at
true.
@blankbodiespod, so you get to see their glitch art and interact with our dumbass goodness.
Sometimes I post weird pictures of Chuck E. Cheese. You just never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
This is just him being
Just-
completely unhinged.
Just full Dick the birthday boy energy. We do have a Patreon if you appreciate us enough to want to give us a couple of doll hairs. That is rad. We have various tiers which allow you access to things on our community Discord. The Discord is free. But if you want extra goodies and you want your name to be a different color because you are supporting us and being a good homie, you can do that. I also will draw art, and I think we're close to having show notes set up, and then I'm also going to finish the citations on the Blank Bodies master research document that has the citations for every source we have used for the show, so you guys can have access to that.
Yeah.
You guys can see how fucking unhinged I am.
Every once in a while,
Yay.
she talks about the master document. I just hear like the fucking boom.
It's like 6 or 7 pages, guys. It's a lot. I put a lot of research into
You
what
have.
we do. It's like, look, it's important to cite your sources.
It is.
We live in an age, I'm not going to say post-truth, but I think we live in this age of information overload, and because of that, people just aren't good at processing and aren't good at following through on information and making sure what they're seeing is valid and or makes any sense. So I want us to try and encourage people to be like, nah, cite your sources, bitch. It's important.
Do it.
It will stop a fascism, hopefully.
Yay.
We also have a surprise tier that no one has bought yet, but it's there. I still have your surprise waiting. If you want to go for it, cool. If not, like, it's okay.
Be the blood.
I'd rather you pay your bills.
Yeah, do that first.
Yeah, pay your bills first, and then buy the blood.
The blood is definitely a joke tier.
It is a joke tier. There is gallons of the stuff. Anyways.
Communally, you're right.
Yes. Now I have MCR stuck in my head. I'm sorry. We also do an interview series. We've had cool people on the show, including like artists for the V5 books and like other community members. And we would like to continue that process into the new year.
Yeah, I hopefully will have a new one of those up soon after this.
Hells
That's neat.
fucking yeah. If you want to get in contact with Hunter to share your projects, whether it is LARP, actual play, cosplay, music, game writer creation. If it's vaguely gaming related, we'll probably talk to you about it.
Or if you're a real vampire.
If you're a real vampire, that'd be sick.
Hit us up.
Hell, even if you're just involved in vampire media.
Or horror in general.
Or
You want
horror.
to tell us about your upcoming Frankenstein movie? I don't care. I'll
Oh,
talk
hell
about
yeah.
that shit.
Yeah.
Fucking absolutely hell yeah. Blankbodies@gmail. Hit us up if you want to do collabs and the whatnot. Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Au revoir. Ooh, double kisses.
Yeah.